So today we are going to work on what we call spaghetti towers, and this is an engineering and architecture exercise in our science series. So this is in connection with our last lesson, which had to do with an introduction to science, and we are going to work on our essential question. And our essential question today is, how can we create the tallest structure that can independently stand? So we want to build the biggest structure that we can, but it has to be able to stand completely on its own. So that means without your assistance. So you can't touch it, okay? After you're done building, we'll call time. And then it has to stand all on its own for 30 seconds. And all by itself, and you can't touch it. And if it collapses, then we judge it at whatever height it's at whenever it collapses. Does everybody understand?
Does that mean the tallest one wins?
Yes. So with the spaghetti tower, you're looking for a design that you can build to be the tallest in the amount of time that you're given. So what you're going to do is develop a plan, and you're going to work with partners. So everyone that is the person sitting to your right, starting over here, is going to be your partner. You're going to work in teams of two. So it would be Kathy and Josie, Amaya and Dustin, Ashley and Eliana. So those are your team members, okay? And you're just going to work with your team of two, and we have 3 objectives that we're going to try to meet today. Our first objective is that we're going to use effective teamwork. So that means we're going to work together with our team, and you're going to communicate with your group members. So that means you guys are going to talk out any of the problems that you have in your group and make sure that you have a plan that you both agree with. And then you're going to understand the importance of a strong base structure. So when you're building or developing any kind of architectural plan, you want your base to be really strong. Otherwise, your structure won't hold. So that's something that you're going to have to figure out today. And then our objective number 3 is to learn to ask questions. So we have a lot of directions today, and if you have any questions about the directions, you're going to ask me to clarify. And I can answer those questions because I'm going to give you a set of directions, and if you need more than that, then just ask questions and I'm happy to help you. Alright, so who has questions starting off? Anybody? Your materials are in front of you, so you have these gumdrops, and then you have noodles, and these are spaghetti noodles. Yes, ma'am.
Do you give us an example of what we're going to build, or we just have to meet the criteria that it stands by itself with no demonstration?
So we're not going to do a demonstration today. We're going to use all of our own inquiry skills. So you're going to work with your partner and develop a plan, and we're not going to give you an example. So you're going to have to use your imagination on how to perform the best in this challenge. Yes.
I don't have a plan.
All right. So you're going to talk to your partner with your plan, okay?
Okay.
So you're only allowed to use the materials that are on this table, not including this notebook or pen, only the spaghetti noodles and the gumdrops that are in front of you.
What if someone hears you and copies you?
That's okay. You know, sometimes when you're communicating a good idea, another group may want to use that idea. What was your question?
Do we get more materials if we need more?
If you run out of materials, just raise your hand, and I do have some backup just in case you need it. Your second question was, are you allowed to eat it? I prefer that you don't eat your materials because that would mean that you have less to build with. After we're completed the activity, then you'll be able to eat some of your materials afterwards.
Except the noodles.
Yes. Probably don't want to eat the noodles because they're not cooked. Good observation.
Hey.
So what we're going to do is we're going to set, yes?
Can we break our noodles?
You can. It's up to you how you would like to use your noodles. So if you would like to break them, you're allowed to do so. Any other questions on your materials? Yes?
What was the time limit on our project?
Your time limit on your project is going to be 5 minutes. So you're going to have 5 minutes to complete this challenge with your partner. What we plan on doing, though, is I'm going to give you 1 minute of planning time, and then you're going to have 5 minutes to execute your plan, which is how long you have to actually build. So what we'll do for the first minute is you're just going to talk to your partner. And then when I call time, I'm going to tell you to start, and you can go ahead and start to build your structure. And you can build whatever shape you want, but the only restriction is it has to stay on this table, and it has to be able to freestand by itself whenever we call time at the end, which means for 30 seconds you can't hold it at all. Yes.
What do you mean to stand up?
So you're going to work with your partner, but basically you're building like a castle out of these spaghetti noodles and your gumdrops. And you want it to be able to stand on its own, which means that it has to have different points in order to build a base, which was objective number 2. We're going to build a strong base and then go from there. Yes.
Can we, sort of,
That's okay. Let me know when you get it, okay? Yes.
can you like put like a row on a bottom and then get the noodles and stick them in, and then put the gumdrops on the top of it, and then put noodles in on the top?
You can use the gumdrops and the noodles however you want to. You're just going to work with your partner, okay? Yes.
Are we making one project, or are we making 2 projects per team?
You're going to make one per team that you turn in at the end.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Is there gonna be goo in it?
There's not going to be any goo in it, okay?
Gumdrops, no.
That's what we're doing actually for our next science lesson. We're going to talk about chemistry. But today is all about architecture, engineering, and mathematics. Okay, yes. Last question, then we're going to begin, okay?
Are we all doing our projects at the same time, or is like one group going and then the next group is going and the next group is
You're
going?
all going to work at the same time.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take one more question. Yes.
Can we do it like a high castle to there?
You want it to be the tallest that you can get it, okay?
Uh-huh.
So this is going to start your 1 minute of planning time. So go ahead and start your 1 minute.
Okay, what do you think?
I think we should like put these in a row. Like one, two, then
Good
like,
piece
and then
means
stick one,
we have to make
one,
a lot
and
of
then two,
I
and then
think
three,
the
and
noodles
then
like
four in a
square.
row.
We should break these all
Then
What do
into
you think the
this.
And
strategy is?
then we should put these on top of them. Then we should put even more on the top, and then put these on it again. And then we can put more dirt.
Okay. How big do you think we should make them?
I think we should make it like large today. We don't have this
How wide do you think we should make them?
It's like gonna be really cool, and there should be like square windows and stuff.
Do you think that'd be good for
Like
width
when
on
you do
it?
this, Dustin, we make a line and get this, then get this, then get this, then get this, then we What did you name this? Like that and that. Don't grab anything. Wait, 2 sticks at a time? Okay, I'm gonna have to put one at a time in though.
Ooh, just don't push down too hard because I noticed that the noodles down here bow a little bit when we do it. So we gotta be extra careful. Careful.
So at this time, you've reached your halfway point.
Well, I think these ones are a little
This
tall.
one's done. Put one at the top.
Oh no! You're rolling the candy off the floor. That's okay. You don't have to get that one. We got
I'll get 'em
plenty
out.
of them. One.
Really short. I'm so bad at this. No, I'm actually bad at this. Ah, I just broke it. Oh, there's 2. Yeah,
Hold this actually. Hold this one.
yeah, just 2. How about we like? Here, I'll put one on this side.
I have an idea. We only have 2 minutes and 50 seconds left.
Oh no.
And this one's yellow. Oh no, that mouse is going to not stay for that much time. That's going to be bad.
I'm working. Oh my gosh.
I'm working as fast as I can. I know, child. Yeah. Spaghetti sticks. Oh no, I'm almost done. Yeah, no. Yeah.
The taller.
God.
There you go. Perfect. Carefully.
Here, you put that in.
Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart.
I'll get you.
I have crushed your noodle.
Good work, teams. Does anybody have working questions at this point in time?
Oh, I will.
Okay.
I add some more.
I'm like putting it up and stuff, and it keeps falling down.
So you want to know how to solve that? That's something that you and your teammate have to work out together.
That's right.
Yeah.
And just remember that you just have to have the tallest peak at the very end. And you have 1 minute and 10 seconds left. Yes.
Is it based on presentation too? No.
We are just going to have it
Absolutely
based on the
not.
tallest because that's what we established in the very beginning. So I don't want to change the rules.
Okay, we have 1 minute.
Let's make a house. Let's make a Try this.
What's our time, Coach?
You have 42 seconds left. 42 seconds. You have 22 seconds.
Alright, we need to support it. We need to support it.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
It's got to stand by itself for.
Or, yes, it does.
10, 9,
Oh, careful.
8,
No.
7, 6,
Careful, careful.
5, 4, 3, 2,
Oh my gosh, don't touch it.
1. Hands off. Everybody,
Don't
hands
touch
off.
it. Don't touch
Everybody
it.
stop touching, no touching.
All right.
Now, where is he?
And now we're starting the 30-second
Now
timer.
we're starting the 30 seconds.
Try, Jill, I'm sorry.
Everybody did pretty good work. We're going to talk about these activities,
Don't even breathe on it.
but we still have 20 seconds for them to freestand. 20 seconds of freestanding. So remember not to touch your structures or they will not be judged. All right,
think you
3
guys won.
seconds. And stop. All right, so it looks like Ashley and Eliana's team
Go,
won.
Ashley.
Good job.
Good work, but we're gonna
Good job.
We're review this activity as a group because it's something that we can
Doesn't look anything like yours.
something that we can build on in the future. Okay. So I have Sit. a few questions for
Maybe
you
building
all.
on that in the
So
future.
we're gonna rein back in our conversation and talk about our work together as a group.
Are we allowed to eat our
Yeah, you can snack on some of your candy while we talk about this, but I just want everyone to be actively involved in the conversation that we're gonna have. So we're gonna do a review of the activity. Yes.
These are actually a lot chewier
Quit.
and softer when you're eating them instead of putting them on
That
there.
is true observation. That's the true
So-
test right there.
Okay, so we're gonna go over a few questions. We talked about how this activity relates specifically to science. Does anybody remember which areas it related to when we talk about science? What does this relate to? This is a review from concepts we already talked about. Yes. Architecture. Does anybody remember the other two?
Engineering.
Engineering, and there's one more. Yes. And mathematics, which we already talked about. So good job on getting the connection to the everyday world there. So which group was the most successful?
This one over
So why
here.
do we think reviewing how they? What point did you realize that this group was gaining speed?
After I had started on the final top pyramid, I realized they were catching and passing me.
Do you have a reason why you think that happened? Successful at the end point, which was this group right over here, but at the midpoint, was everyone at the same level when I
No.
called about halftime, or was there one structure that was taller than one of the others?
This structure was in the middle over here.
So this structure.
It is really
That
dark.
if you use thin ones on here, which we learned, is that it starts getting more flexible, wobbly, and because of the big gumdrops.
So the gumdrops were heavy and the spaghetti noodles were pretty weak. So those were two problems that you had to overcome in order to do well. Does anyone else have a problem that they had to overcome in order to do well?
Gravity.
Gravity. I know one of them was not eating your materials was a challenge that everyone had to overcome.
Challenge.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what kind of scientific knowledge do you think you gained from doing this?
Have a good base.
Have a good base, which was objective number 2. Any other main scientific concepts that you learned during this process? Yes.
That you can use stronger material. If you use stronger materials, the better it'll hold up.
Yes. So if you were using this data for an experiment later on down the road and you had to conduct it again, how would this data help you? Yes.
I would be using lighter material to build taller structures.
Okay. So if you were provided the same materials though, do you feel like you learned some new tricks to the
Absolutely,
trade?
yes. Yeah.
So if you were to go around the room and tell someone who had never done this before how to do it, what would be some of the recommendations that you would give to that person?
Cut the gumdrops into different size segments to use, and use multiple pieces of spaghetti for strength.
Absolutely.
And a wide base. A wide base.
Very nice.
And do you feel like in the future, if you were given a project to do with engineering and math, and it was a building concept, do you feel like you would have an edge on your competition at this point?
Yes.
Definitely.
Definitely.
All right. So how well did your groups communicate with each other?
We did good communicating.
We did
Yeah.
pretty good.
So
but-
pretty good.
Sort of.
Hmm.
Because we had different ideas, but when we looked at both of our ideas, they sort of came together the same.
That's good. So you heard out both perspectives, and then you kind of just took a best fit from the middle. What about your group in the middle?
We concentrated on divide and conquer. I did a lot of the building, and Amaya did most of the sorting and circulation of materials.
That's good. So you felt like your communication worked. Do you feel like you would have maybe worked better with a different partner, or you felt like all of your partners were pretty easygoing and good to work with?
I like
Pretty good. I love pretty good.
That's good. Everybody liked their partner. So how was your time management plan overall? So when we talked about you have 1 minute to plan and 5 minutes to work on your project, you felt like probably that was a lot of time, right? And then once you got into your project, did that feel like enough time?
it.
Yeah.
Certainly went faster
Yeah.
than.
Yeah.
I feel like it was going really good until that last minute, and then you had to scramble because you could
Yeah.
see what the other people were doing, and you wanted to get just past what they were doing.
So if you were given a shorter amount of time or a longer amount of time initially, would you have planned differently?
Knowing what I know now,
Yes.
yes, I would do things differently.
Yes.
What about not knowing what you know now? Like if we would have started out and I would have said you have 30 minutes to build your structure, would your overall plan have been different? Because your structure would have had to support more weight overall?
I think it would have been more trial and error for sure.
Yeah.
It would have been more. It would have been more.
So would you recommend that we do that with our next group? If I were to execute this experiment again with the next class period, would you recommend that I give them more time, less time, or the same amount of time?
Same time.
amount. Same amount.
I think if you gave them more time though, they would be able to troubleshoot a little bit more.
Successful.
So they might be able to work out more of these problems. Like in this amount of time, we didn't have a lot of time to problem
Once
solve.
we figured it out, it was
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
It's too late.
Like I think if they had more time, they could figure out what the problems were and maybe devise solutions that we didn't have time to fix.
Yes, absolutely.
Like we probably would have realized that we should break up gumdrops once it got to a certain point and it started falling. We would realize it was too heavy and we needed to change something.
All right. Does anyone else have commentary on that?
No, just concur. I would agree with what the inside.
Her and
So I think everyone did very good work today. And we're just gonna quickly review our objectives and we're gonna decide whether or not we met them. So did we use effective teamwork and communication?
Yes.
Yes. Did you understand the importance of a strong base after the assignment was over?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And did you learn to ask specific questions to get more information before you started building in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So everybody feels like we met our objectives, which is good. And our essential question was how can we create the tallest structure that can independently stand? And now you know how to do that for the next project, right?
Yep.
All right. Any questions to close out?
No.
No.
Thank you, classmates, for a great lesson.
Thank you.
Yay.